Hello everyone, my name is Jenna Lutz, and I will be doing a presentation on Russian leadership's influence on U.S. foreign policy. So there are some current changes in our foreign policy between Russia and the United States. President Putin recently proposed amendments to Russia's constitution that would allow him to have a longer place in power. So he is focusing on giving more power to the State Duma or Parliament to appoint a prime minister, and that's taking away some of the power from the president. The reason he's doing that is because since he won't be president, he still needs to have a way to have some kind of power and influence in the Russian government. He would be in a good position to be the new prime minister or in a high position of the State Duma since he has so much experience, and it doesn't seem like he will be leaving the powerhouse anytime soon. So why would a decision like this be affecting U.S. foreign policy? Well, Putin has been in leadership for a very long time, since 2000, and he has a very long-lasting influence on Russian government. He has made history in Russian government in so many ways, and he will not be leaving a position of power anytime soon if he can help it. So seeing how Putin reacts when the U.S. is in trouble, or we initiate a summit or discussion with Russia, or his reaction to what other countries do, or what he does when he's faced with conflict, or if he accuses the United States, or what he does if his integrity is questioned, is really important because we can see how he might react to foreign policy issues that are relevant to the United States and our security or military or trade, which can affect our economy, which can affect just the average citizen. So all of these things are very interdependent, and I think that's something that we need to remember. Foreign policy is very diverse and it affects citizens in ways that they don't originally think about. So during the end of the Clinton administration, there was the first joint military cooperation between Russia and the United States, which was pretty cool. But throughout Bush's entire administration, there were definitely a lot more events other than the ones listed in this table, but I just listed a few of the important treaties that were going on, any kind of invasions, some of those big foreign policy points that were definitely notable. So between 2008 and 2012, President Putin was actually prime minister, and Medvedev was the president of Russia. So most people consider Medvedev more of a puppet to carry out Putin's priorities, even though Putin was not president. Medvedev was just a placeholder. So as you can see, this table is not nearly as eventful as the tables of where Putin was president. Not as much was happening, but at the same time, there was still enough going on that Putin could have a strong hand in foreign policy, including some of these treaties and some of these sanctions that were going on throughout Obama's first term. So this is after Putin was re-elected during our Obama administration and our current Trump administration. Again, I did not list every single event that happened, but I did include some of the major events that were worth noting, including summits and treaties and discussions and things like that. So Russia is consistently accused of violating the INF Treaty throughout the past 10 years, which is important because they consistently break agreements and break those terms that we set for them. So what do all of these tables and all this information tell us? So Vladimir Putin was quick to accuse the US if he could or retaliate to make a point, but he's not going to back down. Open to discussion, could be a little defensive. Aware of the power that he was dealing with, but not intimidated. Less action was taken when Putin was not president for obvious reasons, which I mentioned in the last slide. Putin has restored Russia, and he's an authoritarian showman. Okay, he likes to save face, he likes to see what's going on, he likes to be what's going on. And he is resilient in his priorities and views, and he has a nationalist agenda. He is consistent but operates a little differently depending on who he's dealing with. So he interacts differently with Barack Obama than Donald Trump because they operate differently and they have different priorities. Barack Obama backed down when he was interacting with some other foreign countries, where President Trump has been ready to give an aggressive threat. You have to interact with two of those energies very differently to be effective, and that's something that President Putin realizes. So what can we tell about this for U.S. foreign policy? How does this affect our country? Well, we can tell that Russia's actions will most likely not change. Their priorities will still be similar. They're going to be following the same pattern as long as Putin has a high position of power. Throughout this entire time, he's had a hand in it, and they've been pretty consistent. But they probably will not fall out of that unless a dramatic new leader would take an approach to that, which probably will not happen, considering Putin is all that young Russians or like the new Russian society knows. They don't know any other type of leader. They don't know what it would be like. So any change is going to move slowly, if at all, just because of caution. And even though Russian priorities may be changing, if Putin's aren't, then it doesn't really matter. And throughout his presidency, Russia is consistently breaking agreement conditions. Whether it's the ICF treaty or other treaties, other discussions, they have broken military agreements or treaties consistently. And that's something to take note of if you're making an agreement or defending Russia or having some kind of discussion with Russia, trade with Russia. This is something you need to think about. Russia might not be a team player. Can we rely on Russia? Probably not. Are they a little unpredictable? Probably. And that's just something to keep in mind for our foreign policy leaders. And these are my sources. Thank you everyone for watching my presentation, and I hope you learned something.